everyone, this is P4L. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at Ocular Max's PS-07 Artifex, the maintenance bot. This is the third-party version of Hoist, obviously, in the masterpiece kind of scale, line, look, style, whatever you want to call it. And this is Ocular Max's Perfection series. So, really quickly, let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. So the front, we do get a nice little window in alt mode. This is typically how we've been getting the Perfection series as of late. Do get this really nice artwork done by my good buddy King. On the top, you get a little bit of a different view, so you can see that there's different heads included. You actually get 3 heads total. You get some of his alt mode, robot mode on the top here. Some more nice artwork on both sides. On the bottom, more artwork, some warnings and stuff like that. And on the back, we get this cool retro kind of transformation sequence with the new figure, which I always really liked. And you can see, again, the accessories kind of shown off here with the hammer fist, which I barely remember from the series. Had to look it up. And some of the alternate heads. You do get this retro style bio on the back here, as well as the spec sheet, and you get this little red strip included to make it a little bit easier to see what these specs actually say. You can see them just fine here, but again, this is kind of a retro throwback to the original specs from the G1 series. Alright, so that's really it for packaging review. Let's go ahead and get this guy out of packaging. Out of packaging, we get all these nice things. So we've already talked about this little red strip of plastic here, so we'll get that out of the way. But he comes with a ton of accessories, various things that you'll use for his alt as well as his robot mode. One thing to get out of the way really quickly, since we're not going to really need it for this review, is the toy style Sphinx alternate head. So if you have Sphinx, the alternate version with the kind of lighter blue color, this is for you. So it's a G1 toy inspired face for that Sphinx slash Mirage. If you don't have any use for it, then you can just keep it in your baggie, I guess, I suppose. Other things that you do get, you get some alternate heads for Artifex. So here's a gray one with blue eyes. And this is the more, I guess, toy-inspired version with green and the white mask and the yellow eyes. And we'll do a comparison and installation of this once we get into robot mode, but wanted to show that off very quickly. Other things you do get, you get some missiles here, or rockets, which will also combine or be used to form his hand cannon. We'll show that off in a bit. You get 2 of these hammer pieces, and again, he used this in the cartoon at some point, but I barely remember him using that. You can switch out his fist for that. You get these 2 mounts that work in conjunction with the force field generator, and they're on a ball joint, so you can plug this in. Hoist typically had it, I think always, right behind his head, so you're going to probably use this one. So let's go ahead and mount this for now. And you do have this as an alternate display option for shoulder mount. You do have some extra side view mirrors. You have to be very careful when transforming this so you don't damage the side view mirrors. So just in case they included this, in case you mess that up. So we'll cover that very detailed in the actual transformation part. So you don't do that. You won't have to employ those. And then these 2 pieces here are just clips that work in conjunction with these rear pieces of the rockets. Wow, these are on there tight this time. For storage when you use it as a rocket arm or blaster arm, you can put this on here and store it in various places in robot and alt mode. So let's go ahead and put that back for now. So let's get all that out of the way. Just clear that out. In addition, we do get his instruction booklet. Nice little kind of almost Hasbro inspired accordion style. showing off all the different features and transformation. Little shout out credits to all the different designers. So the designer is AK, Sculpt by Griffith and Jesselyn Bell. Packaging by Chugoking. Some photos by Ian Reed and UNM Studios. And then me, as well as powered by Mastermind Creations. If you didn't know, Ocular Max has done by them. Alright, so let's go ahead and get that off to the side. You do get a little cardboard paper stat card with the stats on the back. Alright, so let's actually get into alt mode review. Very quickly, if you want to store some of his weapons, he does have squares right here. Just make sure to have these pegs, which can rotate up or down, depending on how you're going to use them. So these can store right here. Very nicely done. Let's see if I can focus here. And yeah, the alt mode looks quite nice. It's very different than the Trailbreaker mold. Their Trailbreaker, we'll do a comparison a little bit later, but it is very heavily remolded on the backpack here. This one obviously has the kind of hoist tow truck feature. Not really, it doesn't look like the cartoon or the toy version that I can remember, but maybe it does. At least this portion here looks very much like the original G1 toy. Obviously it has some of its fins on the back stored, some lights which go unpainted. I think they could have done a little bit better, another coat of orange here. You can see some of the gray showing through, so that would be a little bit nicer if they could have done a little bit better. Paint apps with stripes all along here. Fairly clean. They could have been a little bit done better, I think. Some orange paint apps. On the bottom, you can see it's much more clean than some of the other figures. And they have this little covering piece which simulates some of the parts of the G1 toy. Again, it's pretty much the same stuff over here. Die cast here in these runners, as well as other parts of this figure. Decently heavy, not too overly heavy, but definitely features enough die cast. This can fold up if you'd like. And I think that's really it. Some options. He does have rubber wheels that can collapse if you don't want to have like the high running. But once you collapse it, you do start getting interference. But that is the display option they have showed off. I don't think it really makes a lot of sense though. Again, the only complaint I have with the alt mode is this kind of weirdly shaped back door. Because of the way they shaped it for the feet to make it look a little bit better, they do have a little bit of gap here. So let's do some quick comparisons with Trailbreaker. Sorry I don't have his weapons on him. But you can see that they're clearly the same mold. The only real difference being this backpack section here. Sorry about that. This backpack section here. Not backpack, this trailer section. I keep calling it backpack because it forms a backpack. But otherwise, pretty much the same. The undercarriage is slightly different with these panels covering up a little bit more of that. But otherwise, pretty much the same, even down to its paint details on the front and the blue headlights. Another quick comparison, in case you don't have this mold yet. Here he is with Streak. About the same width and length overall. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what you're getting with his alt mode. Anyway, let's go ahead and do some transformation. So the first thing we'll do is take off these guns or blasters, whatever you want to call them. Leave them off to the side for now. And we'll go ahead and collapse the wheels. they should clip into place. The back wheels, I think you actually need to start transforming before they clip into place. So once you do that, you can deal with the backpack. So the backpack, you just give it a little bit of a squeeze on either side to free up these side tabs here. That's the easiest way to get it out. And then you have a tab back here. Just pull up on that. You usually can just get it out by force, but it's on a double hinge, which you can extend up like so. Next up, we'll go ahead, and I like to separate the legs now. We'll just do that, make it a little bit easier. And then we'll deal with these two tabs that are kind of a over-under tabbing situation. So the first thing I do is just give it a little bit of a push on the door, and that frees that. And then kind of the same thing, push on this back panel, which will release this tab. Fold up the runner, or the step, whatever you want to call it, for now. And you want to just extend the leg like so. You want to get into this kind of L pattern. Okay? From here, the first thing I like to do, so I don't forget, is go ahead and fold in the side view mirror. That's very important. While we're here on this side, flip this open. This is going to tab in to form the rest of the knee. You can open up this back trailer and fold this out. That becomes the toe. And then from here, you're going to want to pull back on this hinge. And you're going to push up on the wheel and get it tucked in to this wheel well. All right. You're going to want to straighten this leg out like so. Tab in the knee. And this part of the shin is actually on a sliding mechanism. That. It tabs into the side. There we go, got it all the way extended. Tabs like that. You'll see there's a little slot here. How you get that to everything to stick in, this fills that in. To get it to stick in, you just fold this back and push this in behind there. You rotate that back. And you'll see that keeps everything secure, the back panel and the filler here. A lot of people miss that part, but you definitely need to do that to make everything solid. Next thing is, a new feature on this mold is it actually has a collapsing mechanism for the thigh to make sure that Hoist is a little bit shorter than their Trailbreaker. One thing I do have on mine is I think there's a loose pin. So this foot is really, really wobbly. Hopefully yours doesn't have that. On this side, same thing, just repeat. Go ahead and push down on that. Flip this down. Once you get this down, again, in kind of like this L pattern, flip this open, flip the side view mirror open, and then deal with the foot. Get the wheel tucked in, like so. Straighten out the leg, tap in the knee, open up the shin, tap it in there, and then once again, making sure to rotate this runner all the way back so it fits in. Ooh. And collapse. And make sure you collapse this very tightly. There's a definitive snap. Otherwise it will keep extending and so forth. So see, this foot is fine. This one is a little loose. I'm gonna have to tighten that up. So there's his lower body. Scooching this up. Let's deal with this. Go ahead and bring the crotch down, like so. And then the front is like this. You're gonna wanna pull down on that. And those are the two arms. Split them like so, get them out and rotated, I guess like this for now. Coming up to the top, you want to pull on the windshield. There's two pegs here. Lift that up and then you see the head. You're going to want to rotate the head down like so. That gives you just enough room for when you collapse this die cast piece here. collapsing the upper and lower body, collapse it all the way down. That would have pushed the head up, but it's nicer to just get out of the way. Make sure you don't get anything scratched up. Get these door windows down on this double hinge. Get this roof panel collapsed and flat like that. Alright, let's deal with the rest of the front of the body first. So here's where you have some options. You can actually close this down like this if you'd like, without doing any transformation, and get a really square, blocky chest. I like that because it differentiates from Trailbreaker. But alternatively, you can actually, well, you can plug this in too. It's actually better to plug this in because these two tabs tab in here to the grill, so it holds the chest a little bit more secure. But the also benefit of doing that, even though you do get a bit of a gap, is that you get more of an ab crunch. So there's options there. You can keep this out, limit your ab crunch, but fill in that gap that you'll see if you look at your figures underneath, or you can go ahead and tab that in. And then again, as with Trailbreaker, if you want a little bit more of a V'd out chest, you can squeeze these in. It's up to you. I like to keep it out. And these are actually on sliding mechanisms too, the grill, the chromed out pieces. But I don't know if they're actually supposed to come out that far, because they actually do come off. I would leave them out. So once all that is tabbed in correctly to the chest, go ahead and bring the windshield down on this double hinge, collapses down there, and then peg in these two pieces at the upper part of the chest. And that secures the upper body. Alright, let's come to the backpack real quick. The backpack, you're going to flip this piece so that the lights are on the inside. Flip out these fins and angle them however you'd like. And then these two tabs here will tab into the die-cast piece. Like that. Then you can collapse this up to have a fairly clean back. I mean, you do have a little this winch kind of thing, toe, that's still there, but overall it compacts much better than Trailbreaker. Alright, now we're going to finish off with the arms. So the arms have these new panels here that Terraegis didn't have. They're on several rotational joints. You just flip this around here, flip this down, and flip it back so it sits on the back of the arm. Then you're going to go to extend the arm. You extend it until you hear this click. There we go. And then you also have this optional extension here, so at the lower wrist. And then shoulders can also slide forward or back as you'd like. Same thing on this side here. Get this back onto the back of the arm. Pull until you hear that click. And then if you'd like, pull the forearm down. And there we have Artifex in robot mode. And he's quite different looking than Terraegis. Let's actually do that comparison first, just to show you how different he is. And as you can see, he does stand a bit shorter than Terraegis or Trailbreaker because of that collapsing mechanism on the thigh. And he is quite remolded, so in addition to the option of having the chest collapsed or out like this, I'm going to keep his out to differentiate a bit. He also has different moldings in the entire forearm. This piece here, the entire backpack, and then obviously the head and so forth. Alright, another quick comparison since we're doing comparisons, and it's always good to have an MP10 comparison with a Masterpiece scale figure. Alright, so let's get into robot mode review very quickly. Let's do a quick 360. And again, with the shoulders, you can move them forward if you'd like. Very clean overall, and I think it looks really nice. The backpack is the only real major difference, I think, in robot mode that you'll see in a 360 view with these fins. And it's a much smaller backpack. It collapses much better than Terraegis. As far as articulation, he has the same kind of stuff that Terraegis has. So he has a swivel here, rotation there, rotation at the shoulders. He has this extra hidden piece here that allows you to go all the way out. Bicep swivel, elbow bend, kind of a broken up elbow bend there. Wrist swivel. His fingers are individually articulated, 3 fingers with a base pin. And then the pointer finger has an extra point of articulation. The thumb is on a ball joint. They can come up and around. We talked about his ab crunch before. You probably get like 30 degrees. He does have a waist swivel. His waist ratcheted, going forward, back goes quite a bit as well. Going out to the side is friction, very tight friction. You can actually probably get more than 90 degrees if you really wanted to, but 90 degrees should be more than sufficient. Swivel, double jointed knees. You get this upper one, and then another one down here. This one breaks up the look, so I would actually just maintain this one. If you want that little extra, I guess you can, but with this molding here, you're not really going to need more than 90 degrees. The ankle tilt, which is floppy on this left foot, but on the right foot is quite nice. Toe tilt. No separate heel, although he does have die-cast heels. Alright, so I think that's it for articulation. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Oh, I guess the backpack stuff, but you can angle these wings however you'd like. So for his accessories, again, we've mounted the ball joint to the force field generator, and it's really supposed to be for him going on this peg here. And then the shoulder pieces, the way to correctly mount them is to fold this up. And then this little ridge here, to get this ridge on the back, and then push down. And you can do that for both sides, but we're not going to bother with both sides because I want to show off the additional features that you can use with the other blaster. So the blaster, as I showed before, can break up into 2 pieces. Fold this up, go ahead and put this on the storage piece, store it back here if you'd like. Just pegs into those same squares, rectangles that we saw in alt mode, like that. And you can have both if you're using both. But this also works in conjunction with the hammer fist. So what you'll do is take off the hammer portion, plug this in, and the replacement of the hands is very different. So you have this little piece here. Just pull down on this, and it's like a little U-shaped piece. It's kind of odd, actually. You take out the fist, plug this in, and replace that. So then you have his blaster hand. And obviously, since I took this off to show the blaster, you can take this off and put in his hammer fist, which again, he used in some episodes, I suppose, or at least one, when he's forging stuff. Forging as in, hitting stuff with a hammer with metal, not forging as in counterfeit. Alright, so I think that's it for the kind of extra accessories per se. The only other things that he have to use are the alternate heads. And the alternate heads go on with one screw here. And to replace it, you're just going to take out the screw that exists, take out this one, and just swap it. I'm not going to do that because it's pretty self-explanatory. But again, you have the option for the gray head, the separate eyes as opposed to the visor, and more the defined mask, or the kind of cartoon, blue-eyed gray head. So let's get this guy transformed back into alt mode. First thing we'll do is just get rid of all the accessories that we've placed on this guy. Get this off. Take this off. Keep this folded down. If you have any arm attachments, so you could transform him by just taking this off if you have the blaster on, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the complete way to get him back into the form that he was in out of packaging. So we have to go ahead and get that fist back in. Get this little piece slotted back into the bottom. There we go. Make sure the thumbs and fist are curled up like so, and collapse them. This piece is going to come back around, and really quickly, I didn't show this when we were untabbing it because it's not that big a deal then, but there is a small little tab or peg here that goes into his forearm. So you're going to want to make sure you get that all lined up and pegged into place like that. Alright? Same thing on this side. Go ahead and collapse all that up. Get this rotated around and down. Make sure this is aligned and tabbed in. As for the shoulder joints, go ahead and push them all the way back if you pulled them forward. Then we'll deal with the backpack. The backpack, we'll go ahead and pull this out of the way for now. We're going to straighten this up and get these kind of finny pieces with this little indentation like this. Go ahead and pull that back and you'll see those indents were for that. And get that folded back up and then pull back on the backpack to untab those two small tabs. Just get this up and out of the way for now. Next thing we'll do is come to the front, unpeg the two pegs from the chest, get the windshield down and up front like this. I like getting these windows out the way and flipping. Oh, actually you need to extend. See, the die-cast piece is kind of in the way, so go ahead and extend the joint there, fold back the head like so, and then you can bring the whole front of the car up forward. Go ahead, if you collapse the chest, go ahead and widen that out and then peg this in to the front like so. Should peg in a little bit better than that. Alright, well, we're not going to deal with that for now. Like this, get the arms down and around. Get the two halves together with these series of over-under tabs. Come on. There we go. And just fold this up like so. So it should look like this. You can get these side mirrors however you'd like and peg in the roof to the cab. Not sure why this is acting funny. There we go. So now dealing with the lower body, first thing we'll do is go ahead and fold up this crotch like that. Extend the legs. There's, as far as I can tell, there's no definitive click when you extend it, just when you collapse it. So just pull that out all the way. I'm going to pull this runner out, as well as untab the knee. Collapse the shin. And what you're going to want to do is get into that L shape, right, that we showed before. So at the upper knee joint, get it up like that, lower knee joint like this. Alright, that'll give you the clearance to bring this wheel out. Fold all this up, and tab in the toe, this tab's in here, and you extend the wheel, but you can actually do the wheel extension later. So that's what you need to get this rotated all the way forward. Make use of that knee joint and the second joint here to get it all around like this. Oh, sorry, I forgot to fold this closed and fold this out. Very important so you don't damage that. Get that extended forward. Get this in like so. If you did that correctly, you'll get this tabbed in like that. And then you get the runner down. So you get 1/2 done. Do the same thing for the other side, and then we'll clean up at the end. Close that up. Untab the knee. And then once again do that. Bend here, bend here. Get this wheel out. Tabbed into the side there. Close up the rear. Get this around forward. And using those double joints, get it kind of like this. You can see it a little bit better on this side. So series of 90 degrees. Fold up the knee. Flip out the side view mirror. And then you can extend this into place. Now tab in. Get this rotated in under the windshield or window. Get it tabbed in there. Fold the runner down. Once you have it here, you're basically done. You just need to tab into 2 halves. There's a couple tabs there. Then the backpack, or the, I guess, this part here will come back. You'll see this tab here. I want to make sure you get that in. Come on. There we go. Squeeze on the sides to get this tab in this way. Tab in that way. There we go. Get the wheel down, 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 down. And then you can pull this out like that. And as I said before, if you want, you can go ahead and take these blasters, form one piece again, fold this down, and plug into the back here. And then we have Artifex back in alt mode. Is everything fairly clean? I feel like this backpack could be a little bit done a little bit better, but I'm not sure why it's not cleaning up that well right now. Is that good? Yeah, I think that's pretty close. Anyway, you just have to what is keeping this from finishing out right? Is that tabbed in all the way? Alright, well anyway, you're very close to where you need to be, right? So there we are in alt mode. So final thoughts with this figure. I still really like this mold. I think if I were to pick which one I would want, if I could only choose one of the characters for this mold, I think I actually like this mold slightly better. It's a little bit cleaner here. There are more options overall with some of the accessories like the hammer and stuff like that. I also like the trailer section here. I think they did a really good job with that. It has a little bit more playability and functionality to it. And I don't know, something about this mold I think is a little bit better for this guy than Trailbreaker, but I still love Trailbreaker too. They're Terraegis as well. This one seems a little bit more refined in terms of most of the tolerances. I know a lot of people are having issues with like this gap here. There's no gap, at least in mine here, so that's a good thing. And I think overall, aside from my little bit of a loose left foot, I think the tolerances on this guy are overall more refined than Terraegis. So for the price point and your options for a Hoist, I think this guy is a good option. I know that I think, who was it? Obviously, Bagcube has theirs already out, and Vans Toys have teased their Trailbreaker, which obviously would be a mold mate for this, one would assume. I'm guessing there are probably some other options out there as well. I might be forgetting one, but at least this review should have given you enough information to decide whether you want this guy in your collection, Bagcube, or to wait down the line to see if, Vans Toys, another third party, or even if Takara comes out with one. I still really like it. It still is in very much line with the rest of the Ocular Max series, with the rubber tires, with the die cast here, and the overall quality is really quite nice. Alright, if you have any questions or comments on this guy, let me know in the comment section below and I'll get to you as soon as possible. If this review was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, or if it wasn't, please give it a thumbs down, but at least comment and let me know what didn't help you or what you didn't like about this video so I can improve in the future. As always, if you want to get this guy and add him to your collection, go ahead and click on the Toy Dojo link in the description below, as well as follow us on Facebook, subscribe here, whatever you want to do. It'd be great to hear from you guys in any fashion. All right, that's all for today, everyone. Have a good one.